What's up, everyone? All right, so here we are finishing the 110th trading day of 2019. I'm gonna finish up about $2,700. Well, I'm down $2,000 in my main account and I'm up $4,700 in the IRA, so net profit, $2,700. That's a green day. It's a little above my 2019 $2,500 per day average. I wish it was a little bit more, but you know what? Progress is being made, and I always try to remind myself, even though I gave back a little profit today on my last trade, I am still walking away with more money than I had, well, 2 hours ago, and that's solid. Progress, you know, that's what it's all about. So slow and steady wins the race, and I'm up about $12,000 on the week, which puts me up $42,000 on the month. So I'm still feeling good about that. We're gonna try to finish up this week with 2 more solid trades on Thursday and on Friday. All right, see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. All right, everyone, so we're finishing here the 110th day of 2019 with another green day, although today's not as great of a day as it could have been. I'm up $4,700 in my retirement account, and I'm down $2,000 in my main account. So I only have a net profit of $2,700 today, which although it is above my daily average of $2,500 a day, and I'm always happy to be above the daily average, it's one of the slowest green days I've had since actually last Wednesday. Last Wednesday was also a slow green day. I only made $100. Yesterday, of course, being up 21,000 was a really solid day, and you know, I probably could have been up 20,000 on IMRN had I been a little bit more aggressive on it. This one was kind of interesting. Our watch list this morning was a little on the light side. If I go here to time frame and use historical date, this is what the gap scan looked like. Let me just put this at 9:25. We had BLIN at the top of the scan, up 26% pre-market with an 888,000 share float and 1.5 million shares of pre-market volume. Price was $367. This to me all looked good for a break over $4. We had SYBX on the scan as well, which I traded. This one didn't have enough volume. This one was a little too expensive with a float that was a little too high. NETS was a maybe and IMRN was a maybe. These both were lighter volume. So all of the trades today were right off the watch list. Remember, ZZT is the NASDAQ test stock. So this doesn't count on P&L. This is just for testing hotkeys and stuff like that. So IMRN, I'll put that back there. So BLIN, unfortunately, did not give me the big breakout I wanted. The bell rang and I jumped right in for the break over $4. Well, as you can see, it hit 4, but it did not break 4. It had resistance right there. It tried 3 times and it couldn't break that level. I stopped out, but I had taken 12,000 shares of it. So I was a little aggressive on my share size. Being maybe a little bit of cheaper stock, I thought I needed 12,000 shares to try to make a decent amount of money on it. So I jumped in at 93 for the break over 4. I was up 7 cents per share. Obviously didn't take the profit on it because that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for a break over 415. 418 was the daily trigger that gave us room up to 450. So 418 was actually the spot I was watching. That was based on sort of this resistance area here. And yeah, it couldn't go. Ended up selling off and it's down at 318 right now. So that was disappointing. I lost $2,041 on it, which considering I took 12,000 shares is not the end of the world. That's, you know, not bad. But it put me down below my $2,000 daily max loss, which meant I could not take any more trades in this account. This account locked up. So now I could call Lightspeed and say, hey, can you guys open my account up? And they could, but I don't do that. And so anytime I hit my max loss in one account, the cool thing is I can tab right here to my second account. Now, you know, granted, not everyone can have 2 accounts, but I've got my main account and then I've got my retirement account. So I switched over to my retirement account, and the next trade I took was on SYBX. On SYBX, This one, we were watching pre-market for a break over the pre-market pivot, which I mapped out as being 825. So I had a couple people ask me about pre-market pivots on comments and on YouTube. So when we have a stock that drops down and pops up and pulls back, I usually think to myself, if it can break this level here, that's significant. If it breaks that level, it's then got a chance of retesting high of day. So I sort of consider this to be a pivot. Now, this is a pivot to the upside, and down here might be a pivot to the low side, the low of this area. And that's the level that ended up breaking. So anyways, 825 was the spot I was watching. I added at 847 for the break over 850. I think it was right around there. Or maybe it was 825. In any case, I added right here as it was squeezing up. It was like right in this candle. Hit a high of 880. Next candle drops all the way back down to $8, and then it's back down to 780. So it did not hold that level at all. I stopped out of it and was lucky to have $250 of profit because it could have easily been a good size loss. But as soon as it couldn't hold this level, I bailed out of almost all the position, getting a partial fill on the balance, and then sold the balance down here at 8. Or I guess it was 824 where I finally made my last exit. So kind of disappointing there. And at that point I was like, okay, well, I just took a $2,000 loss on BLIN. 2 minutes later, I take a trade on SYBX that totally did not work and was only a $250 winner. And you don't risk 2,000 to make 250. So my ratio of my average loser versus my average winner today, before this IMRN trade, was pretty poor. And so when IMRN hits the scanner, it hits the high day momentum scanner. I was familiar with the name, of course, because it was a stock that we had seen on the gap scan. And so I saw it, I pulled it up, and I pull it, basically my process, if I have a different stock up like this, I see a stock hit the scanner, it goes boing, it makes this noise, I look up, I type here, IMRN, and while that's loading, I come down here and type it here. I look at the chart, if I like it, I press Shift 1, and just like that, I'm in. So ZVZZT, let's just do this for example, SPY. So ZVZZT, I go there, I type it here, ZVZZT, ZVZZT, and then I like it, Shift 1, I'm now in it with 6,000 shares, just like that. So now usually I don't have to type a 5 ticker symbol, which is good because it takes more time. Usually they're 2, 3, or 4, but in any case, that's how quickly I can get in. And then Control Z, selling and bailing out, and now I'm down 270 on this test stock, but that does not contribute to my daily gains or losses because it's just a test stock. So that's the process on IMRN, typing it quickly, and as I saw it coming up towards 4, I jumped in at 393. So I'm in it, it squeezes up here to a high of 443 and gets halted, first circuit breaker halt. And I was like, okay, I really wasn't that excited about it. I was like, oh, well, all right, this is halted, doesn't have a lot of volume. I'm not sure if this is gonna work or not. Obviously the trade on BLIN and SYBX didn't work. I'm worried this might resume from the halt and just drop right back down. So I was kind of just like, I was just sort of like, I don't know, not really sure about it. Comes out of the second halt, or comes out of the first halt, and it dips down for a second, and the dip buy opportunity was at 485. And I passed on it. I had my order ready at $5 to add, so I had my order up here at $5. All I need to do is press the buy button, which is right down here. And instead, I just kind of was like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Buying out of the second halt's a little risky. I'm only just, I don't even think I was like, oh, I'm just barely break even on the day at this point. I don't know, maybe let's just give it a second. And then it squeezes up to 506 and is halted a second time. And now I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna hold and let's just see what happens. And so I'm holding 2,500 shares. And it resumes from that halt and it squeezes up to 605. And as it squeezed up to 605 right here, I sold all except for 400 shares. I sold at 539 and 550 because I wasn't sure it was going to work. I was like, you know what? I better just take a little profit on this thing. I don't know. And so I took some profit there, 446, 431, 536, 531, 539, and it squeezes up, halts at 605. Now I'm only holding 400 shares. It then resumes and hits a high of 680, which was our 200 moving average. And now, of course, I'm thinking, man, look at that, you know, from 380 or whatever this was, 388 to 488 to 588, almost to 688. And at that point, it halts going down, and I'm still holding small size, and it resumes, goes through here, and I actually added right here. On the first candle to make a new high, I added, anticipating the first candle, I added actually at $5, 6,000 shares. That didn't work. I stopped out right here and gave back $2,000 of profit. So I was up 6,700 on it. We'll finish up 4,500. I thought first candle to make a new high would at least give a decent bounce. We were below the VWAP. I knew there was some risk there, but I thought we would get a better bounce, and that just did not happen. And then it halted a second time going down. So this is going to be one of those stocks that we talk about in the class as being that if you waited for the first pullback, you would have lost money. If you really waited for the very first pullback on this, which was like right here, and took this trade, you lost money because this was not a profitable trade. So the only trades on this were buying off the high day scanner for a break of $4, which is the $0.5 whole dollar setup, possibly adding on the dip coming out of the first halt, which is an aggressive scalp setup, and possibly adding up here on the dip out of the second halt, which would have been very risky. But those are the only ways that you could have made money. So give me a shout out of how much you guys made today, those of you in the chat room, and I will call it out. So for those of you guys who did find your way to profit on it, it was through scalping off the high day Momo scanner. It wasn't waiting for the first pullback. So I see 330 for Matthew, 960 for Chris, 5,000 for Mason. Nice job there. Let's see, 470, 3,600, $5,684, 810, 200, 2,500, 840, 18,000 in the simulator, $134. So, you know, a lot of you guys did pretty well on it between sim and real money. But yeah, this was the only place where you really could have traded it profitably to the long side. Now, of course, if you had shares available to borrow, shorting the first halt going down is a no-brainer. But these are often the challenge here. And I set up an account, as you guys know, with Centerpoint earlier in the year, so I could try to short the first halt going down, because this is like a no-brainer setup. I mean, it works so well. The problem was that you know, by the time the stock was squeezing up here, usually if you went in to borrow shares, they were all gone. You couldn't find any shares to borrow. Now, if you reserve shares pre-market, well, maybe you would have been able to get shares, but half the time, or probably more than half the time, these stocks pre-market, well, they end up doing nothing. So spending $500 to reserve shares on the top 3 or 4 gappers is going to cost you $2,500 just to reserve the shares. That puts you in the hole for all those borrows. So I didn't like doing that. I would always wait until the stock was starting to move, and then by that time, no shares were left. And so I just kept finding myself seeing these great opportunities, but not being able to trade them. So yeah, the whole thing with shorting these stocks, I can't short this at light speed. If I, you know, I could try to press the sell button here, and it's going to say short orders. Oh, well, this is because it's in my margin account. Well, in any case, there's no shares available to borrow. So even if I wanted to short it, I couldn't. There are a couple of brokers out there that do have shares available for stocks like these, but usually what they're going to do is they're going to make you reserve the shares. And so when you reserve the shares, if say you reserve 5,000 shares, you can trade those 5,000 shares all day long. You can short it, cover it, short it again, cover it, short it again, cover it. You have 5,000 shares reserved to your account, and you can trade them all day long. But the privilege of having those 5,000 shares, you've got to pay a fee, and that fee is based on a per share basis. And so, I saw the price usually was anywhere from usually 0.004. So 0.004 times 5,000 shares is what, $200. So 0.004 to 0.0. I saw some as high as 0.05. So you're paying $500 for 10,000 shares. Some of the fees were just crazy high, and just wasn't for me. So great opportunities here if you're able to borrow the shares and are able to get on it really quick. But and this of course would have been a nice one. But on the other hand, we have others that like JagX, that end up squeezing out those early short sellers, dropping down, looking like they're just going to fade the rest of the day, and then boom, back to the highs. And then that's when things get pretty crazy. So I think for me, it's just easier to focus on trading to the long side and not flipping back and forth. Trade Zero, yeah, they've got good availability for borrows. So it's 7 cents per share right now at Trade Zero. So if you want 10,000 shares, it would cost you $720 of IMRN. And that's even if you don't take the trade, just for reserving those shares, $720. Of course, if you'd reserved 10,000 shares up here, you could have made $10,000. So it would have been worth it if they still had shares available to borrow. So anyways, that's the challenge. But today's going to be a day where I'll finish in the green, red in my main account, green in the retirement account. Have been mostly trading in my main account as of the last few weeks, building up the profits here. The nice thing, of course, is that I can take these profits out anytime I want. In the retirement account, can't take the profit out without paying a penalty on it. So this is really for retirement. Just got to leave it there and let it grow. So throw another $4,700 in the pile there, and in the main account, a little setback, but we'll be back at it first thing tomorrow, and hopefully we see some good opportunities and we can finish up this week with 2 more solid days. Thursdays and Fridays have been strong days for me this year, really strong. So I'm excited for what's in store, given that we are still seeing a lot of volatility, and volatility equals opportunity. And today could have certainly been a $10 or $15 or even $20,000 day had I been more aggressive on IMRN. I just wasn't, because I lost on BLIN right out of the gates. If I had made money on BLIN, I would have had a cushion. I would have then taken that, put it towards IMRN, and this probably would have been a really awesome day. But that's okay. Be back at it tomorrow. So I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. Bye, everyone. If you're still watching, you must have really enjoyed that video. So why not subscribe and get email alerts anytime I upload new content? Remember, when you subscribe, you become a member of the Warrior Trading family.